Okay, let's dive into chapter 2. In this chapter, we're going to be talking about value, we're going to be talking about services, and we're going to be talking about retail technologies very briefly. Let's take a look now at the chapter. Like all new fields of study for a student, you have to learn some terms. And in this chapter, it's no different. There's a lot of terms that we're going to cover here really quickly so that you can understand better what they mean by them. So the first term is this whole idea of a marketing concept. When it comes to satisfying and exceeding expectations, this is a philosophy that basically is saying any organization should try to satisfy the customer and make a profit off of that. So, I want to find the need that a customer has and be able to have enough money left over after I satisfy those needs to be able to run my organization, to be able to employ my people, etc. The extended marketing concept is that we want to exceed what the customer wants and needs at a profit. In other words, when you see that word extended in front of marketing concept, it means that wow factor. When somebody opens the door to that new car and they're like, wow, this is a lot more than I expected, or they receive that invitation to the wedding, it's wow, this is a lot better job of presentation than I've ever seen before. I'm wowed by that. Those are ideas that would be exceeding the expectation of the customer. Customer value is a very important concept as well. In this case, when we talk about value, we're talking about as an amount of goods or services or money that's considered fair and suitable equivalent for something else. So when we say something is of value, we're talking about something that somebody's willing to pay money for, and it's considered a fair trade. And retailers are always trying to add a little bit to create some more value for the customer. Some of the areas that you can think about this customer value would be in terms of their perception of the value that's provided by the retailer. I mean, think about it. Sometimes people don't feel comfortable with buying a computer, and that's why they might go to Best Buy, because they have a group of individuals, the Geek Squad, that can fix the computer for you. Okay, so that might be an idea of, I would be willing to pay a little more to have that value. A second area would be the equity, financial informational that the customer provides the retailer. So the money you give them and the information you give them about yourself, about your buying habits, those are of value to the retailer. Number 3, strong relationships with the customer and the retailer. You think about that. As a retailer, you're more likely to see somebody that's happy that's a customer coming back again than trying to find a new customer. And then finally, integration and utilization of technology to support all this. So things, all sorts of things, from the way that you use technology for your logistics to your social media. All of that would tie into that. They have a thing called the customer triad, which basically is a 3-pointed triangle. Value-based prices would be on one, service quality on another, and product quality on the final point of that triangle. And usually, it's only a couple of these that are actually used. The retailers tend to only pick 1 or 2 of these. So product quality might be one thing person thinks about, or service quality would be another, or value-based prices. And usually a retailer will pick 2 of those to do that. Quality, service, and price. So they use this QSP as an acronym for quality, service, and price, and it's how they're categorizing their value, the way they combine things. And again, you might concentrate on just 1 or 2 of these areas to create value differentiation, and they might have one area they're particularly strong in. So if you think about, let's say jewelry, you would say that maybe it was very high quality at Tiffany's, but it wouldn't necessarily be very low price. It would be a high quality. So they really would concentrate on having that high quality perception of their jewelry. Customer versus value it creates equity. So customer value would be how the customers are responding to what it is that you're offering, and how that creates equity for the retailer. So it ends up being translated into financial value and marketing value that the customer provides for the retailer. So name equity, the value of the organization's name would be one thing. Brand equity, the perceived level of quality for the retailer's product lines. You think about somebody says Mercedes-Benz, you're thinking it's high quality for a car. Brand association, attributes or personality that the owners of a brand wish to convey to their current or potential customers. Back in the day, you would have a lot of the time, you would have the person that started a company being the spokesperson. So if you think about Kentucky Fried Chicken, a long time ago, there was a guy named Colonel Sanders, and he used to be on TV. He had started the company, and he was this folksy kind of guy. And that was the personality that was attributed to that particular Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. How valuable are customers? Well, you think about it, what are they going to spend every week? And then just multiply that by 52, and that tells you how much that you'd make off of a customer every customer every year. How do companies create value? They try to do it in all the different functions. They try to focus on the customer. They try to make the value consistent with the pricing and the way they're communicating all of this. They try to retain customers. They don't want to lose customers because getting a new customer is very expensive. Maintaining a current customer is not nearly as expensive. And customers' value is a value to everybody in that whole channel of distribution, the wholesalers and the producers and everything, not just retailers. The book also is talking about services in this chapter, and in this case, the product is actually a service, and there's nothing tangible. Okay, that's one of the big differences. And so a lot of the time, you'll have things like, gift wrapping or parking or bathrooms would be something that's a service that's in addition. And if the product itself is a service, like a haircut, a taxi ride, or an airline travel, you want to work that in. Somehow there's a value proposition that's tied into that. You're going to be doing actually an activity that has to do with this continuum. I'll just introduce it here. It is in your textbook, but it has to do with the difference between tangible and intangible. Service retailing, intangibility, you can't touch it. Heterogeneity, which means that it varies depending on the provider. So, a different person comes in to clean your house every week. It could be a completely different job that's done. The perishability, you can't inventory it, it goes away. And simultaneous production and consumption. So it's produced and consumed at the same time. You brought your food, the server brings it to you, you eat your food, you pay your check, you leave the restaurant. It's all happens at the same time. Very important to create relationships, and I will highlight the second bullet point here. Long-term customers, they tend to buy more, they tend to take less of your time as a retailer, they're less sensitive to price, and they tend to bring in other customers. And finally, it costs a retailer between 3 and 7 times more money to get a new customer than to retain an existing company. So that's 300 to 700% difference. And finally, let's talk a little bit about technology. So technology is big in retailing. It has to do with that whole idea of the integrated marketing communication. A lot of that's driven by retailing today. The development strategy is information systems that are operating behind the scenes. EDI, which is the data interchange between, say, a retailer and the supplier of things. When you check something out at the register, you buy it. It maybe lets the supplier know, hey, we're out of soap now. You better send us some. Inventory management would be a part of that, and then geographic information systems having to do with where things are located.